Did the U.S. Army's Special Forces seize a CIA server farm in Frankfurt, Germany, resulting in deaths of U.S. soldiers? No, that's not true, a U.S. Army spokesperson told Lead Stories the claim is false. Lead Stories has previously debunked claims that American forces seized a computer server in Frankfurt that was owned by a company that provided voting machines for U.S. elections. The claim appeared a video on purported voter fraud in the 2020 U.S. elections published by Worldview Weekend Broadcast Network on November 28, 2020. The segment included interviews with Michael Flynn, a former national security advisor recently pardoned by President Donald Trump, and Thomas McInerney, a retired U.S. Air Force lieutenant general. McInerney said, quote, "The U.S. Special Forces Command seized a server farm in Frankfurt, Germany, because they were sending this data from those 5 states, or 6 states, through the Internet to Spain and into Frankfurt, Germany. Special Operation Forces seized that facility, so they have those servers." End quote. Users on social media saw this title, description and thumbnail, quote, WVW-TV exclusive. Lieutenant General Michael Flynn's first interview since President Trump's pardon includes his talking about ongoing coup with guest Lieutenant General McInerney and Mary Fanning. Worldview Weekend Broadcast Network end quote, asked whether the alleged seizure at the CIA facility took place without incident. McInerney added, quote, "I want to be careful on that, it's just coming out, but I understand. My initial report is that there were U.S. soldiers killed in that operation." End quote. Lead Stories reached out to the Army for comment on McInerney's claim. A spokesperson responded, quote, "These allegations are false." End quote. Indeed, there have been no confirmed reports of a server raid in Germany, nor of any deaths resulting from such a raid. McInerney did not provide evidence to support his statement, one of many false claims propagated during his interview. Some of McInerney's statements were unsubstantiated. For example, there's no proof that China and Iran were involved in manipulating votes in the 2020 election. As he alleged, there's no evidence that hundreds of thousands of votes were falsified, and there's nothing to back up the idea that votes are recorded and stored overseas. Other statements made by McInerney were verifiably false. For example, he claimed, quote, "The state of Pennsylvania mailed out 1.8 million votes, 2.5 million came back, someone had to have a printing press and were cranking them out." End quote. That's not true. More than 3 million people in Pennsylvania applied to vote by mail in the 2020 election, while some 2.6 million ballots were returned by the deadline. Pennsylvania Department of State spokeswoman Wanda Murren described McInerney's allegation as completely inaccurate. She said the 1.8 million figure represented the number of ballots sent from the primary election, back in June, not the general election in November. Lead Stories previously debunked McInerney's claims that the U.S. Army seized a computer server in Frankfurt. Read fact check. U.S. Army did not seize Dominion servers in Germany. For his part, Flynn declined to comment on the purported hard evidence provided by the supposed server seizure in Germany. He did, however, offer his thoughts on voter fraud. Flynn said, quote, "I do not believe for a second that the country will accept Vice President Joe Biden as the next president, based on what we know to be probably the greatest fraud that our country has ever experienced." End quote. That is, at best, disputed. Earlier this month, the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency issued a statement describing the 2020 election as the most secure in American history. It also said that there was no evidence any voting system deleted or lost votes, changed votes, or was in any way compromised. Lead Stories has written about voter fraud and the 2020 election before. Here's a look at our latest coverage. Fact check. WikiLeaks did not dump documents revealing CIA base in Frankfurt, Germany, was used to hack elections. Fact check. Dominion was not caught red-handed stealing votes on live TV. Fact check. Dominion voting systems cannot change votes in real time. Fact check. No evidence Georgia Governor and Secretary of State took money from China to steal election from Trump.